guys, and welcome back to Living in Sisterhood. It's your girl Satia, and today is our very first Sip Tea Saturdays with me. So guess who we're sipping with today? We have a special guest who I'm very excited about. She'll formally introduce herself, but first I'll just give a little background of how we know each other and a little of that. So I met Nicolette, four years ago? 4 years ago. She's a fellow colleague in the medical field. She's a medical student as well. We both attended the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill. So we're both now final year medical students. Well, going into final year medical students. But first, virtual cheers. Cheers. Recently, we were actually in conversation about some things pertaining to mental health. As we all know, May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And Nicolette actually uses her Instagram platform to share a bit about her experience with her mental health and to bring about a lot of awareness. And so we were in conversation about that, and I thought it would be perfect to bring Nicolette on today to share a little bit about her experience and just a lot of information on mental health. So Nicolette, I'll allow you to formally introduce yourself. You can go ahead.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Nicolette Frank. I'm a 27-year-old St. George's University graduate. Shout out to all the SGU people. I'm currently a 4-year medical student at the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus now, and you'll find out why. And I currently battle with asthma, fibromyalgia, panic disorder, and depression. Satia is going to carry on the show from now.
I am so excited that you accepted my request to join the show. I know mental health is not always it's not always the easiest to talk about sometimes. So I'm just happy that you're able to be open now and to be able to share about it, because we know it can impact several people, because we never know what people are really going through. So it's definitely going to be impactful. So just tell me a little bit about why mental health awareness is so important with you, and just give a little bit about your personal experience with your mental health. Because I know you told us a little bit about the panic disorder and the depression, but if you want to tell me why mental health awareness is so important to you.
Okay, so basically I grew up with a lot of friends and classmates that been through a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, I didn't quite understand what they were going through. And of course, I tried my best to help, what little help I could. And even my grandfather battled with mental health issues as well. Mm-hmm. Growing up at that point in time, I still didn't understand what was going on. And even as a student leader in school, as Satia, I was the MSA president, the Medical Students Association president at Cave Hill. And ironically, what a lot of people don't know is that I've had to comfort a lot of students in private who were dealing with a lot of stressful situations.
And you were battling internally at that time as well.
And I was battling internally at that time. Experiencing all those things and realizing that there isn't much awareness out there and people aren't getting the help that they actually need, because there's only so much that I can do, but there are professionals out there. Mm-hmm. And even as MedSci rep, I also pushed a lot on the Guild for mental health awareness, because I realized where the problem lied, especially amongst university students generally.
There's a lot,
and more specifically med students. Oh. And just having a drive for that, I had always had this passion for mental health awareness. Lo and behold, didn't know I would have become a victim to it myself.
Wow.
So a little about my experience. I basically grew up with a lot of issues. I don't want to call them minor issues, because I'll just be downplaying the situation. But I was bullied at school, both primary school and secondary school, high school. Wow. I had a lot of issues with self-worth and stuff like that. But I grew up in a family that you believe that you don't let people know all your struggles. Right. You let them feel
that's a general Caribbean.
That's a Caribbean thing. Yeah, you hide the negative things and you put on a good face and you hold your head up high and you smile and you. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. So typical Caribbean family. So I basically pushed it all in the background and tried my best to be very involved. So I think it was high school I started to be a lot involved. I've been in student government since high school, all in St. George's University. I've been in student government ever since, debate club, stuff like that, while battling with my inner issues. And, you know, while I was on student government at Cave Hill, where we met, I started having life struggles just constantly hitting at me. You know, I had to deal with the death of my aunt, who was basically my second mom. She died from cancer, and it was really like, cancer is just no. This was in medical school.
We'll get a little into that, but I'm just shocked that you were going through all of this while in medical school.
Close to exam time, while planning a major event for the MSA. And dealing with personal issues at the same time. And, you know, I tell myself, if 2020 needed another name other than Corona, I'll name it cancer. But we won't go down that road. It's that bad, you know? And I was dealing with a lot of stuff. And while dealing with those things, my past issues started to resurface as well. So
I feel like maybe you never got over them from back then.
Oh, no, not maybe. I definitely never did. Like, I deliberately pushed them. Yeah, I deliberately pushed them to the background. And like any psychiatrist or psychologist will tell you, if you have issues that are undealt with and you push them in the background, eventually they'll still come back to the surface. You bury them, they will burst into an entire plant. Yeah. So they basically started coming back to the surface and making matters even worse. And I started feeling what you would call sad, but I feel like sad is such a small word to put it. From since then, and that was, how long ago I was MSA president? That was what?
2017, 2018.
Yeah, somewhere there, like 2.5 years ago, somewhere about. Yeah, so my plunge into major depression started way back then. And it's my psychiatrist that made me realize that, you know. She actually asked me a question: when was the last time you could remember actually being happy? And I sat there for like 15 minutes.
Wow, like actually being genuinely happy.
Yeah, and I was thinking back and I was like, wow, this is really
cool. Because there's a difference between having happy moments and being genuinely happy, right?
And I think that's something people need to ask themselves from time to time. Like, think back on the last time you were genuinely happy, not having happy moments with friends and family, but genuinely happy with where you are in life, internally, externally, all that. And, you know, from since then, I felt like, I don't know if it is that I just keep seeing a lot of things in a negative light because of the mental state I was in, or if bad things actually used to be happening. But I have friends that used to be like, you know, the typical Caribbean friends, oh, somebody walk OB on you. What's going on with you? No, because like a lot of crazy things started happening. I was getting sick really often, but depression does start to
start going downhill. Everything coming at you one time.
I started getting sick really often, but of course, after doing psychiatry as a rotation, I got to learn that depression actually weakens your immune system. So you are prone to getting sick. And then I'm already asthmatic, which also weakens your immune system. So I was getting the common cold like every weekend, every 2 weeks.
When were you diagnosed with the fibromyalgia? Around that time too?
I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, ironically, through depression.
Wow. So really takes the toll on your physical health as well.
Yeah, and that actually contributed to the depression. And if you read up on fibromyalgia, it would tell you that it puts you at risk for depression and anxiety. Yeah. So fibromyalgia, I was in pain for like about the past 10 years of my life.
Wow.
And at one point, almost no one believed me because it's like, we can't find the source of the pain. So are you pretending to get attention? But I'm there like, but I'm in physical
pain.
And I'm seeing so many doctors, nobody could give me any answers. And a lot of fibromyalgia survivors would tell you that that's the exact path they went. A lot of doctors would tell them they can't find an answer, and they become depressed because they're in pain and no one believes them.
Right.
So, of course, all that pain increasing because I'm mentally stressed, I'm physically stressed, I'm always tired. Yep. Wow. And trying to fast forward the story a bit because it's a pretty long dramatic episode. When I actually had my first huge panic attack, well, before I used to have minor ones where I would actually be on ward rounds and stuff or doing ward work and start to feel anxious, and I know that it's coming, so I go in the bathroom and I start to cry and stuff like that and trying to calm myself and
this
breathe.
is at school, in the hospital.
This is at school, in the hospital. Of course, no one knew. As I said, Caribbean mentality, you don't let anybody know that you're going through all these.
Can't let anybody see you cry, let anybody see you weak. Put on a brave smiling face.
So I would run into the bathroom, try to catch my breath because, of course, I feel like I can't breathe. I'm feeling dizzy. I'm there crying because I'm feeling overwhelmed and stuff like that. And when I had my first big episode, I actually woke up in excruciating pain that morning. Like, it was overbearing. And apparently the pain is what pushed me into a panic attack. And it was so bad. I don't even know how I made it to the campus clinic. But as soon as I got up, I was like, this is too much. I need to make it somewhere. I actually jumped on a ZR.
Really?
I jumped on a ZR, went to campus, and by the time I got to the clinic door, like, I couldn't make another step. I was there, I couldn't breathe. I started seeing blurry and stuff, and all I remember is the clinic doctor and the nurse like just making a bunch of noise and rushing and running about the place. Next time I catch myself, I'm on some bed in the back with oxygen on my face.
What?
Next time I catch myself, I'm on my way outside. Then I catch myself again, I'm in an ambulance. I'm in an ambulance being rushed to the hospital. And that experience in itself actually pushed me deeper into depression. And not too long after that, I actually was on, probably shouldn't say which rotation, but I was on a rotation.
Okay.
That is known to be quite difficult based on the individuals
I can tell.
in that rotation, right?
I know.
And I was on that rotation, and it was stressful because, we are given tasks to complete throughout that rotation, and you're not getting the task completed because the nurses don't want you doing the stuff that you're supposed to be doing.
And they're giving you, it's everywhere.
They're giving you attitude, and you feel like you're not getting anywhere. You're supposed to arrange classes, but none of the doctors have time to carry out the classes that they are supposed to carry out. So you're there trying to learn on your own, but you're not sure if you're learning the right thing in the right way, and everything's getting stressful. And of course, I'm still dealing with my personal stuff apart from all these school things. And, it started getting physically draining. And at one day when I caught myself, I actually felt like, I don't even want to say a zombie. I actually felt like I was observing my day going by.
Yeah, we learned about that psychiatry, depersonalization.
Yes, depersonalization. I didn't even know that was a thing then while I was experiencing it. When I explained it to the doctor, she was like, yeah, that's a part of depression as well. And I was like literally there feeling like I'm just watching somebody carrying out my body, doing stuff, and I'm just there observing. And I actually felt like in the past, I thought that I knew what feeling empty was.
That was the true feeling there.
That was the true
and while
feeling.
While we on depression, I want you to talk a little bit exactly about what major depressive disorder is. Because, people think depression, they think you just sad 24/7, just walking around moping. No. And that's not the case. I can personally tell Nicolette, because when I see you, when we were in school, and I see you, Nicolette is always, hey, Nicolette, what's going on? Hey, girl. I've never personally, I've never seen you literally down in the dumps looking like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Because people think, oh, you're depressed, you just look sad 24/7. But talk a little bit about exactly what is major depressive disorder and how
Right. And I'm glad you said it that way, because a lot of people, a large number of the people who are actually depressed don't look depressed.
Exactly.
So, you know, depression in itself, in the definition, it does state that it is a feeling of sadness and emptiness. But it's not just that. It composes of a series of symptoms that gives it the criteria for major depressive disorder.
We know the DSM-5 criteria.
Right, the DSM-5 criteria, you know. And that includes something known as anhedonia, which is the loss of interest, so things that you're normally interested in, which was like, I wasn't doing anything. It includes changes in your appetite, whether it's eating too much or eating too little. And then you have weight changes that aren't necessarily in connection.
Gosh, yes. And Nicolette actually shared that. That picture blew me away, Nicolette. Nicolette actually shared a photo of her before and after. And when I tell you, I was blown away, Nicolette. You really lost weight.
And that part, I remember it used to get me a lot because I knew why I was losing weight, because I actually was not eating for several weeks. And you might think it sounds bizarre, and she's probably exaggerating, but no. And you know, when I really noticed that something was happening is when my clothes literally started falling off. Like my pants fell
and
off.
you know, it was funny, I saw something you said too. You know, Caribbean people, oh girl, you're losing weight, you're looking good, you're getting snatched.
And I got that a lot. I got that a lot. Yeah, I got that a lot. And this ironic part is that every time someone told me that, it actually made me feel bad, because I knew what was happening. And it just reminded me that I'm in an active problem state. There's the sleep. Some people sleep too much. Some people sleep
some people can't sleep at all.
not at all. And the weird part is that I've had several episodes after being diagnosed as well. When I was diagnosed, I wasn't sleeping at all, and I was put on sleep aids. Some of the episodes after, I was sleeping too much. I would literally sleep all day, wake up, eat, go back in my bed and sleep all night, and still not feel refreshed.
I'm glad that you said episodes, because a lot of people can sometimes think too that this has happened all day, every day of the year, you know, but it happens intermittently in episodes, right?
Yes, definitely in episodes. Sometimes it's part of the day. Sometimes you feel depressed for a couple of days in a week. And if you check the DSM-5 as well, it would tell you that there is actually a criteria for that. If it's most of the days or most of the time during the day, for most days in the week, or 2 weeks, then you could get that diagnosis. So it's not necessarily you're always feeling sad or depressed. There's also feeling tired all the time, which I also experienced. So there's another symptom where it's either you have increased purposeless physical activity, so like you're pacing up and down, or you're just scribbling for no reason and stuff like that. Or the opposite of that, which would be you're literally slowed down. You're moving slower than usual, you're talking slower than usual, and that's what I actually had.
Well, when people would ask you, like, would anybody in school or anybody in general, they'd be, Nicolette, you okay? Anybody would ever ask or notice the changes?
I did get it from time to time, but from my experience of people asking if you're okay, and then you actually be honest with them sometimes, and you realize that I probably shouldn't even start this conversation. You know, it's either they make a stupid comment at the end that makes your mood even worse, or you see the lack of interest while you're telling them what's actually wrong.
So sometimes people just ask, "Are you okay?" Just for formality, just to say that.
Yeah, because that's a thing. People actually just say it as a formality. You okay? And you just like, yeah, cool, man. And you keep it going, and then your face just changes back to normal after.
So you didn't really get to really open up to anybody or really sit down and say, "Listen, I'm not okay."
not till after.
Wow.
There's also, in terms of symptoms, the feeling of guilt and worthlessness.
Right.
Some people even experience depression by immense anger rather than sadness. That's actually possible, you know? And there's the difficulty in thinking, concentrating, remembering stuff.
And you are in medical school, Nicolette. Like, I know I keep going back to medical school, but I'm just really trying to relate.
Yeah,
I know it's
made it
difficult.
a lot
I can only
harder.
imagine.
I could tell you for a fact, to this day, there's an entire class that I cannot recall.
Wow.
And I remember why I know that the class happened is because my classmates or little group, the teammates, were talking about the class. And I was like, when did that class happen? A day I stayed home, and they were like, oh, you were there. I was like, what? What did they teach in the class? And they called out the things and they said, but you even asked about this and that and that. And you made this comment. And I was like, what are you all talking about? And you know, when I noticed what was happening, I brushed off the conversation and changed the topic. The sad part is that merged with the fibromyalgia, it makes it a bit more difficult because fibromyalgia in itself plays on your concentration and your memory. So sometimes I'm actually proud of myself right now because sometimes I'm in an active conversation and while talking, I forget what I was going to just say. Yes, I have to pause and think back and try to recall. So I'm really proud of myself right now.
Yeah, you're doing good.
And there's the last part of it that nobody likes to talk about, where you have suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideations, according to the DSM-5, which sadly, to confess, I haven't told a lot of people that I actually had those thoughts. I actually was fed up of it all and I wanted it to end. I didn't actually have a plan or set out to do anything on it. It was just a thought. It's probably better if we just end this all because, like, what's the point? Well, is it even worth it going through all this, like, you know?
Yeah.
And all these things, you don't have to get them all to be diagnosed with major depressive disorder. But because I had severe major depressive disorder, I literally had every single thing on the list.